Look, it's your lame older brother.
Hey, come on, man. That's not cool.
Does it suck to know that your little brother's more popular than you?
Hey, my little brother. I wish I had another.
Eros.
And you're not that cool. Also, I'm pretty sure Mom loves you more than me. You and your friends are bad people. Sometimes I wish you'd never been born.
Oh. Okay.
I've had sex and it feels great. The girl's body, the butt, the shape, it's amazing. A ride like no other, except for when you're hanging with your brother. But back to sex, such a good feeling. Call me pig boy, cause you know I'll be squealing. Call me pig boy, cause you know I'll be squealing.
Dun, dun, dun. The reason why I make this video is that I love both Harry Styles and Marvel. What a fantastic way to combine my passion. I think Eros and Harry's similarities are striking. They both are incredibly charming and polite and smart and funny. They have mesmerizing smiles. They are very popular with the ladies. They don't have any temper, and there were even some subtle dialogue or panels in the comics parallels Harry's famous words or actions. So in this video, I will first introduce the character Star Fox, and then I follow his adventures chronologically, meanwhile mirroring Harry Styles' similarities.
The Royal Prince of Titan, brother of Thanos, the Knave of Hearts.
So at this very point, he only appeared in one of the Marvel movies, which is Internal. He was in the post-credit scene, and he was flirting with his cousin Thena, and he offered to help to save the other Internals. But is it just me, or does this scene really remind you of the Gaston song in The Beauty of the Beast? Even the Ask Any Tom, Dick, and Stanley lyric is connected to Harry because obviously it's Tom, Dick, and Harry. His birth name is Aaron, but his parents saw his interest in the opposite sex at the age of 5 and changed it into the Greek god of love's name, Eros. This reminded me of the interview Harry's dad did, saying like a bunch of 16, 17 girl would make moves on his 9-year-old son. So Eros is over 1,000 years old. I would say that he and Loki probably similar in age. He can't be sick of any earthly disease, so a fun companion during COVID. And he runs 800 miles an hour, and he can lift 15 tons. He is basically immortal if no one kills him, and he have incredible dual abilities. Like, normal people can't even scratch him, which already reminds me of Harry, since the amount of people hitting him in the balls is criminal. But he never gets angry or just bounce right off his feet after. But again, do not throw things at his balls or like any part of his body just because he has the Eros durability. Just do not.
Straight in the balls. That's what I'm talking about.
Obama winds up and right in the 1D.
My balls.
Anyways, I digress. The name Eros may not sound familiar to many people, but I know you know his Roman name, which is Cupid. However, there is a real Cupid, a god from Olympia in the Marvel comics. Remember, our Eros only got the name from him by his parents as a reference of the loving nature. He's not really a Greek god, but an internal from the planet Titan. So the name Star Fox was given to him by Janet, who was Michelle Pfeiffer's role, the original Wasp. He was the real founding member of one of the real founding members of the Avengers in the comics. She'd literally be like, "You foxy Starman, I'm gonna call you Star Fox." I'm not even joking. It's not a Wattpad story. It's some real shit written in Marvel Comics. So basically, Eros helped the Avengers before in Captain Marvel Volume 1, when he first showed up. He started to cracking jokes and serious fighting situations. And that also reminded me of Harry Styles, since...
Because we've only got a half hour or so.
No, I'm not wearing any makeup. But you guys wear a lot of makeup, don't you, Harry?
Tons, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you need to. But it's
If anyone needs a wee,
I need a wee.
hold it.
We go for food.
Out of my mouth, 'cause it's you, oh it's you, it's you, they add up to, and I'm in love with you.
And how much
Ours
experience
was-
have you
ours
had
was a
being
play.
kidnapped?
I mean, a couple times, to be honest.
So later he thought being an Avenger could be his next adventure, because you probably have heard him say in the post-credit scene that he is a great adventurer. He loves going on adventures. He's like a free spirit or whatever. Also, Thanos is his brother, so he definitely can provide some good info on him in order to fight against him. However, Thor did protest his joining, saying, "You're only helpful because your brother is a menace." And Arrow's like, "Oh yeah, you're the one to talk." And he proceeded to shade Loki. This reminded me of when Jack Whitehall was making fun of his sister, and this is what Harry did.
I brought my mum with me.
It's Hillary. How is Hillary?
Hillary, she's good. It's weird that you know her name. She's over there, probably throwing herself at Rod Stewart. No, Harry, sit down. Sit down.
So, on his first day of being an Avenger trainee, he said songs should be written about this day, and I can even write it. I think Harry Styles' Lights Up kind of fits this situation. So, personally, I think in his days with the Avengers, he was more charming to the ladies than a womanizer. He always treat women right. He kisses their hands and praises them, never really play with their emotions, treat them with respect and talk to them without flirting, and not afraid to open up and admit his mistake. So there was a time that he had trouble with Monica Rambeau being Captain Marvel, because the former Captain Marvel, the dude, Marvel, was one of his best friend, and he died, basically, and Arrows was there when he died, and he got pretty emotional. So he got caught off guard when they first introduced her as the Captain Marvel. But after working with Monica for a dozen issues, he admits his mistake of judging too soon and thinks she's worthy to carry his dead friend's title. He only slept with She-Hulk for like one night, and frankly, I might be too thick, but I honestly thought that She-Hulk only invited him to enjoy some earthly showers, because that's what she said. And it wasn't until the She-Hulk comics that I realized that they slept together before he got into the shower. Or after, I don't know, I'm confused. Anywho, at this point, he was described as having pleasure powers to stimulate people's pleasure center of the brain. Not only can he work on humans, but on other species as well. But bear in mind, some species doesn't have a pleasure center, so his power won't work every time. He was pretty useful in situations when punches doesn't work. When his power was in question by his female coworkers, he respectfully explained that he only uses it on his enemies and never on coworker or friends. Kind of reminds me of Harry Styles again, because a lot of people outright think he's a playboy, he must have been a womanizer, just because he is charming. Like, imagine Barbara Waters calling you a flirt.
To flirt?
At the age of 70. I mean, and he just gets on with the joke. He's joking about it on SNL.
And just like all my serious relationships, we're all going to spend one incredible night together. And then we'll never see each other again.
But in truth, he has been nothing but respectful for women. Anywho, during the Avenger era, there were some really funny parallels that I found, like how he's super sensitive and not afraid to be crying.
Crying is very manly. Being vulnerable is manly, Daniel.
He uses his smile as a weapon, and I mean, if anyone's smile can be weaponized, it gonna be Harry Styles.
That sounds like hiatus. Sabbatical.
I'll give you. Right, you hang up. Hang.
Hey! How you
Something a man can't wear.
Hits, including Single Ladies, Halo, and Drunken Love.
Halo. And Drunken Love.
What if I was wearing...
Arrow said, "What is the matter with the way that we're dressed? I'm not gonna hide who I am, and I'm just gonna wear whatever is that make me comfortable," which is exactly what Harry Styles said when being questioned about his own fashion. Arrows always treat villain nicely and would say like, "Yeah, you don't want to do this, my friend, do you?" and stuff. It kind of reminds me of when Harry meets some really rude people, and he will always treat them nicely too.
Sleep.
Okay.
So I'd really appreciate if you would stop following me.
Roger, man.
Harry. Pleasure. Nice
Serious
to meet
shit, dude. You're a true gentleman.
Friend is really rude.
I can only...
When this villain said, "tickle you in a special way," I choked.
It just
Makes
me.
me cry performing it sometimes.
So the message in the song-
in like a cool way.
Did you just say in a cool
In like
way?
a cool, in like a chilled
It
way.
makes me cry in a cool way.
In like
I'm not crying in an uncool way.
My eyes are sweating. Like, oh, it's cool. It's emotional way.
So he's definitely not shy in taking off all of his clothes in a room of fully dressed people, and who does that better than this dude?
I'm really worried about Harry. I feel like he's going nuts. He just can't keep his clothes on, and it's interrupting our practices. How are we supposed to concentrate when he's walking around in the nude?
I mean, we just want to be singers, we want to be good singers, and we're trying to concentrate. He's there naked every time, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it.
He's always in the nude.
He only had one girlfriend. Her name is Heather, and she is an alien prostitute / sex slave, which he freed from Black Roger. That's what Pip said during the internal clip. So we are safe to assume that this part has already been done. And basically, there's this thing that's quite funny, since there was a panel when Arrows introduced her to one of his friends from a band. The man was making advances towards Heather and asking her, "What's the fuss about Arrows? You should be with me, blah, blah, blah." And Heather says, and I quote, "Oh, it's one of these things." I mean, come on. It's almost word to word. Little Things lyrics part that was sung by Harry Styles. I mean, what the... And also, do you know the fact that Heather has like a history with a group called The X Factor? Yeah, X Factor. No, word for word X Factor. That was like a group of basically X-Men. So basically a lot of mutants in Marvel comics, they have like X/names. Like for example, X-Man, X-Force, X, Factor. So I know this is like a long scratching of coincidence, but this is super fun. Anywho. Running towards the wall versus running to Liam. In the comics, being manhandled or woman-handled is not that uncommon, but I feel like Harry is so confident in his own sexuality and masculinity, he can basically accept anything that's not normally considered manly. Imagine me doing air quotes while I'm narrating this.
What defines a manly moment, though? That's the question.
You do stuff like, talk about boobs while drinking a beer and watching football.
Now that we don't like to be stereotyped that stuff.
No. I had
That's laddie. I don't know if that's manly.
That's laddie. I was at home the other day with a couple of lads because the football was on, so we were being lads.
Yeah.
And then the football finished, and we were like, "Oh, what's on TV?" And then we ended up watching The Notebook, which I think.
Okay, I think that's well done.
It went from the most laddie I've been
But
to
maybe
the least laddie.
What's your favourite romantic comedy?
I think The Notebook.
But do you mean
feels
this, or
like
is this
it
just you saying this because you know the reaction of females when they watch
No,
this? When
I
you
feel
say
like
The
I
Notebook?
should say my favourite movie is like Fight Club or something. It's just not.
You're Julia Roberts. I'm Hugh Grant.
Why
And
am
we're in
I
the
always
bookshop.
Julia Roberts?
Because you're doing the line.
I'm always doing the Julia Roberts. And everyone's rom-com. I'm always
Hugh
Julia
Grant,
Roberts.
and I'm Sam.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her.
That was good.
That really got me. I went right through me. But in a cool way.
In a
So even when I'm not a directioner, I already knew Harry likes to stand with his hand behind his back for some reason, so I just have to show you this panel. Even Arrow's eyes are beautiful, but it's not Harry's style, so...
I've got fire for a heart. I'm not scared of the dark. You've never seen it look so easy.
And when he decided to leave the band, I mean the Avengers, he said he was gonna come back, and we have heard that before, haven't we?
You are definitely going to come back, aren't you?
Definitely.
Okay.
Everybody now stop the video and cry in hiatus. In Infinity Gauntlet, Arrows really didn't do much. He was there to demonstrate how cruel Thanos is. He got his mouse, disappeared. I know I shouldn't laugh at this, but it's really funny to me how people could just talk at Arrows, not expecting him to comment. It kind of reminded me of so many One Direction interviews when Harold's trying to say something, but since his voice is really deep and slow, sometimes people just completely ignored him.
I like Robbie though. He's a good lad. We had a good bit of banter about it afterwards.
I have a Robbie Savage.
That's laddie and manly. He wasn't holding back because I slid into one of the other geezers first, and he got a bit beefy about it. You showed a bit of aggression. He showed it right back.
Yeah, and Robbie Savage, what an absolutely the amount of times he's been the bad guy in the football game we're watching, and I'm the one who's on the floor. Great stuff.
That's amazing.
Great stuff. You didn't put me down though, did you?
It was in the new Captain Marvel comics that the problem first emerged. Arrows was using his horny powers, for lack of a better name. So basically, he date raped a couple of women. The women were under heavy influence, and their minds were empty, other than just trying to please him, which basically equals to roofie, if you're asking me. So that's pretty problematic, I'll admit that. But I don't think we need to worry about it that in future Marvel movies, seeing Harry Styles roofie people, I don't think that's going to happen, because Marvel has always been very careful in righting the wrongs in past comic history due to the limitation of time, timely appropriate racism or homophobia or any kind of political incorrect plotlines in the comics. Besides, even in the comics, they try to get rid of the problem by Me Tooing him way before the actual Me Too. So in the comics She-Hulk, the whole storyline is about getting the bottom of his sexual assault cases since he used his roofie powers. And although this is kind of like a bad parallel, since Harry's fans known to be having the most creative, funny, interactive signs during his concert, I just thought that it's funny that Arrows has the same due to his pleasure powers. And during the trial, something really funny happened. So basically, Arrows used his power on a Hydra agent to get out of a sticky situation back in his Avenger days. And this agent, Elliot, just outright fell in love with Arrows. He was super happy in jail and only wanted to do good things to police Arrows, and even asking his wife to put on a Star Fox suit during their conjugal visit. And even in court, he asked the judge to put Star Fox in the same cell as him if they ever find him guilty. I mean, and this is not a Wattpad story. This is a legit Marvel comic story. So eventually they had to put Arrows in a remote location to minimize the influence and continue the hearing via a Zoom call. I mean, I'm sorry, this is just goddamn funny. Anyways, in the middle of all this, there was some false wall stuff, basically featuring Marvel apologizing to fans for writing him like that, and I thought that was pretty clever and nice. And in the end, they figured out that his power was actually tampered with by Thanos, and in the end, he got rid of his roofie powers. So, all's well ends well, right? And later on, in Thanos' own story, Arrows went with his niece. Thanos' son is called Zayn. Not to be confused by the One Direction member Zayn Malik. Anywho, so he was tricked into working with Zayn, but then he found out that it was all a lie, and then he tried to seek help from Thanos, and obviously Thanos fucked him over too, leaving him losing half of his beautiful face. So in this series, I thought it was really fun. Arrows is basically Loki, he's cracking jokes, he's messing around, he's being delightful and sassy and all that. Since our Loki in the MCU has grown up, in a way, and out of his mischievous self, to some extent, would we be able to see this side of Arrows in future Marvel movies? That would have been fun, you know? Harry Styles is 28 this year, so he is actually 1 year younger than Tom Hiddleston when Tom's first Thor movie started shooting. So I would love to see another 10 years of Star Fox in the MCU. But obviously, I wanted to see another 10 years of Loki as well, because, yeah, he's one of my first favorite Marvel characters, and I couldn't just leave him. Later on, he got more attractive in the comics, but he's not Harry Styles, though.
Or is it?
Anywho, in one of his final appearances, Thanos fucked him again by reincarnating into his body, and then he was killed for good. So after that, 2019, he was basically dead, and he never really reincarnated after that in the comics, for now. In this series, though, he did reflect on his own life and said some pretty deep stuff like, I was a hero, I was an Avenger, I didn't really do a crazy lot of bad things in my life, especially compared to you, Thanos, but since you're my brother and you're exceptionally bad, everybody knows me in relation to you. And I thought that was quite sad. Phew. That is, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know some of the parallels were a little bit stretchy, but I think there were just too many coincidences, so I put them all in anyways. I'm sure Chloe Zhao noticed some of those too. That's why she cast Harry. I still think it's perfect casting, and I really look forward to any adventures he will have in the future. I really hope that he could meet Loki and Deadpool later, because I thought they'd hit it off. And since he did fight alongside of Steve Rogers, I wasn't against the idea of him fighting alongside Sam and Bucky in the next Captain movie either. And did you see the She-Hulk trailer? She looked amazing. Wouldn't you want to see her carry Harry Styles like a princess? I know I do. So thank you again for watching. I spent a good 100 hours working on this video, so I would really appreciate it if you like or subscribe. The rating list is in the comment section, and please let me know what you think as a Marvel fan or directioner.
And bye.